it's time for the final leg of this tour around the TV shows that are currently running. And we're talking about Shrinking, the sort of Shrinking season 2, which is a great show. For anyone who doesn't know about Shrinking, there might be slight spoilers, so maybe just go watch Shrinking. But it's created by Brett Goldstein, who you might know from Ted Lasso, and also Soulmate, which was one of the first shows we ever discussed on this podcast. Ebuka and I remember Soulmate's great anthology show. But yeah, Brett Goldstein, who was a writer on Ted Lasso and played Roy Kent on Ted Lasso, along with Bill Lawrence, who co-created Ted Lasso, Scrubs, Bad Monkey, and Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother and Forgetting Sarah Marshall and lots of other things. And yeah, Chinedu is joining me to talk about Shrinking season 2.
Hi guys.
How you pimp? How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm good. Really looking forward to talking about this. This season, because the last episode I think was really good. I feel very connected to this show in a lot of ways. And yeah, I'm excited.
We need to start talking about some horror stuff, or like men just like punching each other, because I feel like whenever you and I are connecting on the podcast, it's talking about like either it's sex education or Inside Out, or talking about like emotions. We need to just go and talk about like men stuff and like violence, and so we can diversify.
We should have been on Bike Riders.
Well, then we would have turned it into like an emotional discussion of masculinity. Maybe it's good we're not on Bike Riders. No, yeah, I mean, I think the show right now is 3 for 3. I am really enjoying this second season. I rewatched the first season leading up to the second season, and I think I remember back. I can't remember. I wish I remembered my exact thoughts. We didn't really pod on Shrinking, but I remember liking the start of season 1 a lot, and then I felt like it kind of trailed off for me. But then on rewatch, I was like, actually, no, this is like just excellent. So I don't know what must have. Maybe it's one of those things where something just triggers your mind, and you're like, I'm not enjoying it as much anymore. But on rewatch, I was just like, and it's. Speaking of emotional stuff, it's just like it's one of those things that just gets you, right? Like I feel like every conversation in Shrinking, like every one-on-one conversation is just perfect. I don't know if it's medically perfect, but it's just like it always hits the right notes.
Bro, I said the exact same thing this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What I said this weekend was, you can put any two characters on the show. You can put them in a room and you would still feel like you're in that room with them. You would feel the exact emotions. The dialogue still hits so good. The chemistry is out of this world. And I'm not even being dramatic when I say that, between all the characters.
Yeah, no, it's like it's still in that place where it's striking the right balance between comedy and drama. The right balance being slightly more comedy than drama. Like it's still an essentially a funny show. So it's just, I don't know. I'm really trying not to be hyperbolic about the show so far, but 3 episodes.
I can do that for both of us.
But 3 episodes in, it's really just kind of like I'm just loving every episode, and it's just really, I don't know. I'm really enjoying Shrinking. It's one of those shows where I think it will have to like put like maybe 2 or 3 stinkers back to back for me to be like, oh, okay, this is like, if it puts out one stinker, I would like very easily ignore it. It have to put out like 2 or 3 back to back for me to be like, okay, maybe this is not a good show. But right now, I'm just really in the bag of Shrinking. But yeah, I guess what are your thoughts on the 3 episodes we've seen so far this season?
Generally, I've enjoyed it. They haven't missed a beat since the last season. I don't think. I think everything has been either at worst the same level or even better. The conversations, the stories that they're touching, they've also obviously delved into the very obvious story that we know about. And I think they're navigating that from a teenager's point of view very perfectly. Because in season 1, we've seen her as like an independent,
She
self-sufficient
had to be the
teenager
grown
because
up.
she had to be the
Yeah.
yeah. And now we're seeing her as we did see bits of this, towards the end, like when in her interactions with Sean, but now we're really seeing that this is very much someone who is in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're writing that very perfectly. I think Brett Goldstein is also the right person to play this role
Why do
because
you say that?
he's carrying that. I can't get the word right, but a remorseful. You can't find a more perfect remorseful drunk driver than him.
I hope he puts that on his CV. But I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean because he is carrying a lot of like anger and guilt, and kind of Roy Kent did that as well, right? So it makes you. I get what you mean. That like Roy was always obviously very angry, playing and not playing. But even in the introductions with Keely, you could see that he was also just he had that kind of it was a different kind of guilt, but he was a character that so yeah, that makes sense. I like the fact that I was very worried about him. I don't even know why, because I've never heard him do an American accent, but I was worried that he might try to do an American accent. But he did it, and he's just like, I'm just going to shave my beard to make this character different from Roy. And I was like, that's fine. I like that. What did you think when you saw, like, because we knew he was appearing in the season, but obviously I just thought it was going to be like a funny side character. What do you think when, like, the reveal of him in the first episode?
My mouth was literally open.
Yeah.
I was like, I said, oh shit.
Did you know he was going to be in the season?
Yeah, I did. So I watched the trailer, and it was 2 seconds. Like it wasn't
Oh,
even
okay.
2 seconds. It was
I
like a
need to watch
one
the trailer.
second clip.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 1 second clip of him, but I didn't expect him to play this role. And when
Yeah.
he went into Jimmy's office, I was like, oh my god.
I think it's obviously one that it's him, but two for me, it's like the character. I did not think they were going to bring this character into the story
Oh,
because
like
from
the person who killed Tia.
yes,
Oh yeah,
yes, like
yeah.
from like because that's like, and it's something about this show which so far it's like again, it might be like very armchair psychiatrist kind of backseat medical. Like we don't know anything. Or we're just saying, oh, this is deep or whatever. Maybe real psychiatrists are like, this is bullshit. But it's like, it's the fact that like, oh, obviously it makes sense for us to bring the person who killed Tia in and everyone kind of revolves around that, right? Either it's Jamie or Alice or what's Jessica Williams' character's name again? Have I forgotten her name?
Is
Uh,
that Gabby?
Gabby. That was I don't know how I forgot Gabby's name. But yeah. So how all of those three people kind of revolve around the introduction of Tia's killer. But even also, there's a scene in the third episode where I was like, oh, you guys are crazy for having this in because like obviously it makes sense. And it's when they go see Wendy Malik's husband who has dementia. And I'm like, fuck. Like I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. But it's like the person that came up in the writer's room was like, how about we try this? Must have been on like everybody must have just I think one of those ideas where everybody just like obviously we should do that. But nobody was
Mm.
thinking about it. And it's just like it's that scene, it's because you have these two older people navigating this relationship. Obviously one still has a husband who has dementia and it's like all of that. And it's just I don't know. I just feel like the things they're able to pull out for their stories just seem just really good. I don't know a better way to put it. It's surprising, actually, is a better way of putting it. Like, I would never have thought that they were going to have an interaction with her husband who has dementia. Is there a
Yeah, yeah,
storyline
yeah.
so far this season? Oh, no, sorry, finish what you're saying.
No, it was just a short sentence that they're very able to navigate tough plots excellently. Think about all the plots that they've touched on, like a war veteran, not veteran, sorry, but a young guy in the military with not too sure if he's
Wait, are
diagnosed with
veterans only for
PTSD.
old people?
I think so.
Oh, I just thought it
I
was anyone
think
that had
I
been in
think
the
you have to
army.
have an extensive number of years in the service, and I'm not sure he qualifies.
Fair. I just thought it was anyone that served, but yeah.
I stand corrected, to be fair. So Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, continue. Sorry, yes. But yeah, Yvette, yeah, an
So
ex-army.
they've
Yeah.
navigated an ex-army, a
Mm-hmm.
young black guy with violent tendencies in the army,
Mm-hmm.
um, a man who's lost his wife and is raising this teenage daughter. His neighbors are complicated as well. You know, this lady who has all her sons go off to school and she's mama bear. So there's different plots there that they're navigating excellently. Yeah, big fan, man.
Yeah, I liked Liz because I like everybody on the show. But I was talking to Ayo about season one, and I didn't realize that he loved Liz. I didn't realize people loved Liz,
People
which
do.
is
I
yeah.
don't
I mean, he
hate
was
her, but
yeah.
I'm
Me too. I was just
surprised
like, but he was
people.
like, oh, it was like, oh, like he was kind of like, oh, Liz, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that people had that reaction to Liz, which kind of works. I mean, there's that scene in the third episode between her and Sean, which is just gosh, but it's like it's so good because like you understand because everybody is kind of, and I like how this season is kind of really. At first, I thought it was just Jimmy, but it looks like they're kind of going across the board of like everyone's like innate selfishness.
Yes,
It's
and
like,
everyone is going through it.
I was like, oh, they're just doing this about Jimmy, which makes sense. But they're like, no, 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 everybody's just selfish in the show. I'm gonna like investigate that for every character. And I was like, oh, okay, fair. But yeah, I think it's just like because we know all of these characters' hang-ups, like we we know Liz and we know the best of Liz and we know the worst of Liz. So we understand that when she does that to Sean's dad, she genuinely thinks she's helping and everything, but we also know that that's the wrong thing to do. And
Yeah,
or maybe some people don't, right? Maybe people who have like perfect relationships with their parents or haven't had like complicated things. But I think that obviously that's what that Liz did the right thing is a good thing to be surprised. But some people are like, I black are like, no, I don't want to like do this with my dad. Like I want to have that kind of
mm,
distance, right?
mm.
So it's interesting. Like some people would listen to like or would overhear what Sean is saying to his dad, like Liz, and be like, oh, he's telling the truth. But other people like, no, he's clearly lying and he's clearly trying to like couch the thing. So it's like I don't know. It's
Oh, you took it as him lying. Fair when I think about it, because I
I
was a
took it
bit
as
surprised as
yeah, I took it as
him very
him.
willingly. Yeah.
Yeah, he took it as him, even not necessarily lying, but finding an excuse that worked.
Mm,
It's
mm.
like, oh, I would love to do this, but I kind of already doing
Yeah.
this with Liz, man.
I thought it was convenience, but yeah, that
Exactly,
makes sense.
exactly. Um, yeah, and it's just yeah, and they've kind of even with Brian, they kind of yeah, Brian, Jamie might be a shit friend, but you are also not perfect. Like you don't know how old Alice is. Like it's just like I just love how they're showing it. I mean, with Paul, one moment is a hero, the next moment is a selfish
30
man.
seconds.
And
30 seconds to
it's
be
like what just
accurate.
happened?
Oh my god.
That's yeah. Every man who's ever had two or more women gang up on him knows what. It's like wait, what just happened? Who just?
I can't relate to that.
That's cool. You're a perfect man. You're a perfect man, and I just like everyone that's listening to know that Chin is a perfect man. Some of us are not so perfect. Some of us have flaws. So at the risk of blowing up your spots, you had a problem with the industry season 3 finale, like one problem with a particular plot line. Did you have that plot problem when Shrinking season 1 ended? And do you want to tell people what the problem is? So for context.
Yes. So, if I remember his patient's name again, I've been watching her this entire season and skipped my mind now. One sec.
Grace.
Let me just search. Yeah, Grace. Yes.
Grace.
Um, I didn't necessarily have a problem with. Okay. Well, what happened towards the end of season 2
Wait,
is
start with your problem about industry
so.
so that people know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you meant my problem with shrinking. My problem with industry was Rishi's, what's the name of the guy he's debt in debt to?
Vinay? I mean,
Vinny. Yeah.
spoilers for industry if anyone doesn't care about that, skip 30 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're just like,
exactly.
yeah,
So I
like
had a
big
problem
spoilers for
with
industry.
a very massive spoilers. I had a problem with Vinny shooting Rishi's partner in the
Diana.
apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diana. I thought it was out of the blue. It's not something we've obviously the show has told us that we should never be comfortable with what they are as a show. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I thought it was a plot line or it was something that could really open the floodgates here and can be tough to come back from.
I
Um,
think your words to me, which I've really held in esteem, are like it's very hard to get past your first murder.
yeah.
Like when the show does the first murder, it's very hard to get past that. And like I agree, like obviously we've had this discussion. I understand. I think we've said this on the podcast. I disagree, but I understand why that would be a problem. Like
Mm,
it's anyone having a problem with that is perfectly valid. But yeah, so in context of how season one of Shrinking ends, in which Grace pushes her husband there off the
mm.
cliff, presumably to his death, did you have that problem with the show?
I mm, I think I did actually because it's been a while since not to the extent of
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Industry.
not to the extent of industry because that was very violent. Um, but I think with this one, I thought it was unnecessary. Not unnecessary. Okay, unnecessary is too harsh. But I thought it was out of the out of Grace's character.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've had a bigger problem with him surviving. Actually, if that
Oh,
makes
just like
sense.
from a logical point of view.
Yeah, I think I have a bigger problem with him because that seemed like a very
I don't know.
massive fall. The
I
body
don't,
thud was quite loud,
yeah, I'm not like,
but
I'm not
yeah,
thinking about it too much. It's like,
it's
it's a
shrinking.
comedy.
They can do no
Yeah.
wrong. I don't mind. Like,
It's like, it's not like they shot him in the head and then he was still alive. I'm just like, oh, whatever. Okay. He survived.
yeah,
Fine. Okay. I'll
yeah.
just, yeah.
So I was fascinated with how they will, to answer your question, I was fascinated with how, same with industry, I was fascinated with how they will come back from that because I did
Mm-hmm.
think it was a tough position to put yourself into. I didn't think they needed to, which is the same way I feel with industry, but I think
Mm.
they've brought it back this season and I think they've done excellently with even touching our hearts with how they've written the story, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, you're right. I think because there's a tease of kind when Jimmy has that kind of like dream about how he's maybe fucking up his patients. That's kind of like the first episode. And they haven't done much of that yet. So I'm intrigued to see how, if any way, Grace's actions kind of influence Jimmy's therapizing. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if
No more
you're,
Jimmy.
yeah, but he's obviously going to keep on Jimmy. But I'm just like, if, because I think the point of season one is that if you're going to go so out of bounds with your practicing and it kind of leads one of your patients to almost kill her husband, what does that say about how you do your job? Like, are you going to, you get what I'm trying to say? Are you going to keep on doing it? And we haven't, I mean, to be fair, he's been focused on Grace so far. So we
Mm,
haven't really got to see how he's interacting with other patients, really. So we'll see. But like, I would want them to be. I don't know. He could say, "Fuck it, Grace was an outlier, and in the end, she worked out, and I'm going to continue doing it." I don't think it's going to change completely, but I want to see how does that affect his. I know how it affected him as a person, but how does it affect how he does his job? How does it affect the gymming? So I'm
mm.
intrigued to try to see that. Um, is
I
there anything we
think
haven't touched on?
no, I think that's interesting what you've just said because I personally feel like the his therapizing with Grace or that specific advice or therapy that he gave to Grace,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was one of the more calmer like things Jimmy has done with his patients.
Or like the
I feel
booping.
yeah, because from my perspective, watching that scene, all I took it as was when he does something, don't be scared to snap back. But then when you obviously say it out loud, it's a bit reckless to say it to a domestic
Yeah,
abuse victim. But
because you don't know what will crack her.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
you need to be very careful how you navigate those waters. But I think at the same time, it's not what he did was not so crazy that he can't keep on. that he would convince himself that his methods don't work. I think it's more the result of it. I don't know if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. I think he can look back at it and say, I didn't necessarily see anything crazy. This was most likely just a damaged person that I should have
I mean, he made
maybe
a
on the
joke
scale
about
of 1 to 10 of Julian.
push him off, knock his brain, eat his skull, like he does, or whatever
Oh,
he says. He
actually,
does make
fair,
that joke.
fair,
No, but
fair.
I get what you're saying. But I think it's just if somebody almost dies, that's going to scar you, whether you intentionally
Yeah,
said
oh,
it or
yeah,
not. Right.
of
So,
course, of course.
like, I don't. You're right. I don't think he didn't say push him off a ledge, so maybe he can. That would not stop him from completely gymming. But I want to see whichever way. I just want to see that it has a reaction, whichever direction he decides to go. Let's quickly talk about Alice, who, like
Mm,
you said, a teenager kind of going through things. And she
mhm.
ends the episode by kissing on, I can't remember his name, but Liz's son, who is currently in a relationship, a great relationship, apparently. Type of relationship where apparently your parents can just let you kiss 10 feet away from.
And fuck in
What,
their house.
did you say white people? Oh, okay. That's cool. Um,
Sean said it as
and,
well. So
uh, true. Um, yeah, and then she kisses him, even though his relationship with Summer. And it's just like, this is going to sound incredibly like
Mm,
off kilter, but just bear with me. But grief is an incredible cheat code because, especially for in TV writing characters or whatever, I'm not saying that everyone should just use grief as a crutch, but like a character can act so out of character that you're like, but you're still like, no, I get it because your
mm,
brain is upside down, your
mm,
heart is on the right side of your body, like everything is so out of place that like, and you
mm,
could do anything. Like she starts kissing him, and I'm like, I know exactly why you're doing this. Like you don't like this person. He was literally a walking ick 3 hours ago, but you just at this moment need something tangible to hold on to. He's someone that's
mm,
always been nice to you. Like you just like there is. I literally have no way of holding her in
mm,
contempt for doing it, and it's just like it's. I mean, even the Jimmy thing, right? Obviously, you're like, no, Jimmy. And how we start in season one, like, no, Jimmy, you should be responsible because you have a daughter. But if he didn't have a daughter, none of his actions would seem weird or out of
yeah,
place. Because it's
yeah,
still like
yeah.
you're grieving, man. Like
Hmm,
nobody, if there
hmm,
was a manual on how to grieve, that person that writes that manual would be a bestseller because like nobody knows what to do.
mm,
So I just yeah, I mean like it's bad for everybody involved. It's bad for Summer, it's bad for Alice, it's bad for the boy, but it's just like
mm.
I'm intrigued to see like it's one of the things where the show makes a decision. I'm like, that's the correct decision, and let's see how you do it. Um
I, I knew it was going to happen the moment I saw him on screen.
as in
Literally that second,
oh
I
that's
knew.
in that scene. Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to I want to see how the friendship comes back from that because when her friend what's her friend again? Summer. Yeah. No,
Summer.
is it Autumn? No, is it not
No,
Autumn?
it's
No,
summer.
whoa.
But it's a season because Derek thought it
Liz's-
was autumn.
yeah.
So look, I knew it was a season.
So yeah, Summer asking her if she was okay with it to me was um not strange, but I was why is she asking? But it makes sense, obviously, foreshadowing that what was about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's also the fact that she had all this attention and she doesn't have the attention from him and she doesn't have the attention from Summer as much anymore.
I mean,
Um
I don't think she had that. Like, I don't think that was a worry before she went to meet Brett Goldstein's character. But I
mm,
think her and Summer was still hanging out. That was all fine. I think it's just
mm,
considering the situation that she's in now, it's just a
mm.
lot. I guess I don't really know how to put it.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I don't think she was considering that when she went to see Brett, but I wonder if it's not okay, not the attention, but she's a bit lonely now. Her dad is
no, no,
obviously very
you're
occupied
right.
by Grace, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You're right. No, you're right. She needed, he was there and she needed something tangible to hold on to in the moment. Like
mm,
she needed any port in the storm, right? Like she just needed something and someone, and he was there, and like I was like yeah, there's a reason people just end up going into vices when they're going through it, because you just kind of
Yeah.
you need something. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to the next episode, this week's episode, and it's just like it's a really good show. Gabby catches feelings for Jimmy, and we'll wrap up soon, and kind of, which is when it was like, oh, Jimmy, you're actually a shithead, aren't you? It's like,
Sex
Jimmy,
boxes,
man.
man.
Gosh. Because the third episode, they're still not talking by the end of the third episode, yes.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
She's throwing FU signs, so that's it. That's any chance she gets.
I've tried not talking about bring up Harrison Ford, because I feel like we'll spend the whole podcast talking about him, because I think he's both
You
our
know
favorite
my
character.
feelings on, yeah. So,
On this disgruntled older man, older
oh,
white man.
you know what? Yeah, I feel like if he was single, in fact, I'm not. This is not a criticism of the show, but
Uh-huh.
I like him just a bit less now. He's in a relationship. I needed him to be.
You like him now that you like him less now that he's a bit happy.
Yes.
But I mean, the good thing is that he will never be happy with Jimmy, so he would always come at Jimmy.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, he's great. I love, like, I just like, yeah, I love his interactions and everything. I mean, look, I know I like this show because somebody like Brian really should annoy me, but I
Why?
like Brian. Like, I don't know. Normally, a character like Brian will annoy me on the show.
People is it because he's
I
is
think
it because he's
over exuberant, not reading the room.
what vibes?
It's, yeah, like not reading the room, like, everything. But I just like him.
Say
I
what's
like him.
his say I always is it I always win?
I always come out on top or
Everything
something
goes
like
my
that.
way. No,
Everything goes
everything
my way.
goes my
Everything goes my
way.
way. Yes, you're
And then
right.
when Jimmy says, "Yeah, it's not really
I
fun
didn't think
having
everything.
someone that says that's when when they just lost their wife."
I didn't say everything went your way.
You know what? Yeah, I think what you said is actually really good because it shows how the show even makes the most annoying characters even very likable.
Mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm,
even after he slaps Jimmy and then he comes into the office to save the day again,
mm-hmm.
and it's not a line that he said, but Jimmy was like, "Are you going to do anything that doesn't involve? I hope it doesn't involve slapping." Out that line it was funny. It's just
Yeah.
you still want his interactions with other characters, and I enjoy his interactions with Liz and Gabby a lot. In fact, we're seeing it less this season. I hope
Mm-hmm.
they bring it back, the hikes and everything, because I do enjoy. I enjoy him, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just end with a little bit of concern trolling. This is just kind of when I don't necessarily believe this is a problem, but I just need to put it out there because we're podcasted. My fear, I looked it up, and apparently this season has 12 episodes, or is it 13? I think it's 12. And that immediately reminded me of Ted Lasso. Like, obviously, you and I liked Ted Lasso, but I don't think it's a wild statement to say every season got worse. Right? Season 1 is the best season 2, then season 3. That's not a wild statement. And I think, even though we liked it, I think the biggest problem is that it became too bloated. Like, season 2 was 12 episodes, season 3 was basically 45 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
Right. And I read that as them becoming too cocky and believing too much in their own juice and not willing to, like, cut, like, every storyline needed to enter the show. They weren't like, oh, we're not going to do that. So I'm just hoping shrinking is not going to, like, when you have 12 episodes in second season, I hope you're not, like, following the same pattern. That's all. I'm just like, don't be too cocky. Some things can be cut out. That's all I'm saying. That's like my only concern trolling for the show.
Fair enough. I hear that. I think with this one, it's a bit harder to do because this is a much smaller cast. And there are about, besides Jimmy and Alice, you can say 3 or 4 of them are all connected to Tia. So you can all, it's not a, how do I put it? You don't have different characters going on adventures by themselves.
Yeah, you're not
They'll
gonna.
all to
Yeah,
yeah, they'll always have to interact and meet each other. So, but it's a valid concern, but I would be surprised if they go down that path in this
yeah. I mean,
season.
it doesn't necessarily have to be storylines. Just like remember that you can be short and like tight. You
Yeah,
don't necessarily
sweet.
have to. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to tell all the stories. I
Yeah,
know next
yeah,
thing you know, you're like a 50-minute drama. We don't like that's not what
yeah,
we signed up
yeah.
for. So
Because to
remember
be
that.
fair, they've added Summer and now they've added Liz's son into it,
Yeah,
and then they've added Brett.
and like yeah,
Uh,
and Derek has a bigger role. No complaints from
mm.
me. But it's funny. Derek is the exact opposite of Paul. Like, but I still
Yeah,
like Derek. I still really like Derek.
do I like Derek?
You don't like Derek.
I,
Um,
I I liked Derek last season. This season,
fair. I like.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
I
he's
don't
had some
dislike, but
highlights for me.
his one liners were very punchy last season.
Fair.
I
He's
thought I
had some
was
highlights
done
for me.
raising kids, Jimmy, but thanks very much for that.
Season one, I was waiting for his eventual breakdown, and it never came. So I was like, "Oh, you guys just like he's an okay guy. That's fine. He's well adjusted." But like this season, when Jimmy tells Alice in episode 2 about Brett, and he's like, "Speaking of cars," like from his balcony. Oh my god! But even I even also like the way he like jumps into Liz's defense when
Oh yeah.
when Sean is
He's a
yeah.
real ride or die for
You're
her.
like he goes from being the cherry guy to like he's like, hey, hold on, that's my
Yeah,
wife kind of thing,
yeah.
and yeah, I mean that Sean thing. I'm excited to see the development with Sean because his anger came
Mm,
out in that scene, his anger
mm,
issues. I'm excited to see development with Alice and yeah, more stuff. Yeah, so we both enjoyed Shrinking season 2 so far. 3 episodes in, still 9 episodes
mhm.
left, so a lot of
Yeah.
game left, but hopefully it just gets better. Anything you want to add?
No, just same pace with you. Excited to see where it goes,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's been fun.
Okay, guys, thank you. That was our check-in on the Penguin, Agatha All Along, and Shrinking. We are back next week, Monday, for our Bad Sisters season 2 preview. So please go watch Bad Sisters if you don't. It's really good. And then we'll be covering it every 2 episodes across the season. Yeah, thank you to Chinedu, Ibuka, and Sakura for dropping in. And yeah, join us next week and we'll be joined by Oscar winner Daniel Kaluuya. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.